Welcome In the Doghouse with Tim and Scott, brought to you by the law offices of Gary Martin Hayes and Associates, 1-800-WIN-WIN-1. I'm Tim Cicerelli from My Country, 99.3 WCON, and joining us is the voice of the Georgia Bulldogs, Friends of Georgia Radio Hall of Famer, Scott Howard.
What's up, gentlemen?
And our sponsor and longtime friend from many years ago. We did radio together, and we love college football, and he's kind enough to sponsor this, and it's so fun to hang out with the two of you gentlemen. Mr. Gary Martin Hayes. How you doing, Gary?
All is well. Good to see you guys.
We have a lot to unpack here, of course. The Governor's Cup stays where it belongs with the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah.
We'll talk
so
about
we don't have
that.
to unpack that.
We don't have to unpack that. Leave it where it is. Hopefully it'll stay there for a while. And then, of course, we'll talk about what's going on this weekend against Gary's team, the rematch with the Crimson Tide from Alabama. But let's look back before we look forward. This is going to be a lot of fun. Friday, Black Friday at the Benz. That was an ugly one, but we got it done. And that's all that mattered. It was really kind of ugly, Scott. That was my perspective as a fan. How about you from up there in the booth?
Yeah, I heard that a lot from a lot of people. When you have a lot of defense and kicking game, and not a lot of offense, not a lot of explosive plays, high scoring game, and all that stuff, that tends to be the word that comes out for the description of it. So yeah, 16-9. It was low scoring. Both teams combined for, what was it, 6 field goals. Peyton Woodring was perfect. Their guy was perfect.
Back on track.
And so that was it. It was just a clean old fashioned scrum, I guess, on a Black Friday.
Well put. I heard Kirby say something. I don't have the exact quote, but all week since Friday, people are talking about what an ugly game it was and this and that. And Kirby says, "We don't owe you a pretty game." I love that. We don't owe you that. We got you a W.
That's good.
That's not his exact quote, of course, but I loved it. And he's right. They don't owe us. And so that was the state championship, as we like to call it, clean old-fashioned hate or a scrum. Nonetheless, we got it done. Gunner probably not his best outing. What do you think about that, Scott? But I mean, defense wins championships, they say, right? We held him, but he got enough for us.
Yeah. It wasn't our best performance by a lot of different people, and I guess there's a multitude of reasons for that. But as you said, Georgia got through it. They won the game for the 8th straight time to tie the all-time winning streak record in the series, and that had kind of been sitting there for a long time. Georgia had got to 7 wins in a row on a few different occasions and couldn't quite get that 8th. Tech had the 8 wins in the 50s. We talked about that a little bit last week, and then they ended the drought in 1957 with the 1 touchdown, and Theron Sapp scores the touchdown and ends up having his jersey retired years later for that 1 play. So Georgia was able to win this one for the 8th consecutive time, and Bulldog people are kind of beating their chest about that now. It's like, hey, yeah, we matched the record. We've won 8 in a row, so it's a good time. Despite what the game looked like, no, it wasn't pretty by any means. It was kind of a slogger. There was a lot of, like I said, a lot of kicking, a lot of defense, and not necessarily everybody's greatest performance, but that's okay. We moved on to the next one.
Well, let me just tip my cap to you and your performance. I listened to most of the game. I watched the end of it backstage at the John Barry concert as he was getting ready to kick off his tour. And a game like that's kind of slow moving. You did a great job, you and Josh. And then this morning, I flipping through social, the Georgia Bulldogs, the Georgia football page, they put together this awesome recap of that game. And of course, with editing, you can make anything look and sound pretty great and exciting.
Including radio guys.
But really what they did, I don't know if you had a chance to see it yet, Scott, but the recap of the game, but your calls were terrific. And it just kind of moved it along, and it just sounded really, really great. And as a broadcaster for a game like that, you made it very entertaining. And I liked what you said at the beginning during the tailgate show. I thought it was interesting how it felt a little odd for you to be there without seeing, the SEC logo in the front, in the middle of the field. And that must have been a little strange to be there, unlike you've seen in the past when we visit the Benz.
Yeah, well, I'd never done a game on a neutral site for that series. I mean, when we're at Tech, we're always at Bobby Dodd Stadium at Grant Field, forever and ever and ever. So they moved down the street and they put this one in Mercedes-Benz, and the Tech field was covered because it was their home game. So the end zones say Georgia Tech, the middle of the field had the Tech logo, and
Weird.
it's like I know where we are, but our appearance here in this facility and that field doesn't mesh like it will this coming week. I mean, we'll be back in there this week for the SEC championship, where there'll be the SEC logo on the middle of the field, and it'll say Georgia on one end and Alabama on the other end, and that's the experience I'm used to when we're in there for championship games or bowl games or playoff games. So that was just a bit odd. But I don't think the team was too concerned about that. The field's still 100 yards long, and they're trying to get from one end to the other of it, and that didn't happen a whole lot. We didn't find the end zone but once, but one more time than Tech found it. So
Yeah,
That's right.
So what was the crowd mix like, Scott? I know it was a Georgia Tech home game, but did Georgia kind of outnumber the Georgia Tech fans?
I think by a little bit. Yeah. I mean, the game was announced as sellout, so it was over 75,000 in there. But Georgia had very good representation, and Tech did too. So I don't know what the breakdown was. It may have been, a 60-40 maybe. I don't know if it went as high as 70-30 or not, but Tech did pretty well for buying those tickets. Of course, Georgia always does very well with that.
There was some confusion too with Georgia fans. A few came up to me and said, "I don't like this neutral site thing." I'm like, "Well, it's not a neutral site. It's just Georgia Tech's home game." I think a lot of people thought that that's what they're going to do from now on. And I said, "Well, Scott Howard said it's not, so it's not." So
It was a bank deposit. That's what it
money
was.
grab. Yeah.
And they may
They'll be
do it
back in
again.
fan for next year.
They may do it again when it's their home game. That's, I guess, their prerogative. And if both sides agree to it, and then they may try something like that again. But I don't believe, I haven't heard that anyway, that it's going to become a regular thing. But if they have the opportunity, to make $10 million for their athletic department, I would imagine they would probably try to capitalize on that.
Well, as a fan traveling, into Atlanta, I'd rather see that road game at the Benz, where it's climate controlled and it's a nicer stadium, so it works to our advantage, I believe.
Yeah, well, it took the elements out of the game because it was cold. It was cold the other day. I mean, for Atlanta, when we were going into the stadium, I mean, it was frigid, and that wind was just whipping. So I was certainly glad to be, in a climate controlled setting in late November, the day after Thanksgiving, than being down the street at Grant Field and hanging out in an open slanted press box. The press box at Grant Field slants like this. So,
My God.
yeah, you think an engineering school could design something a little bit better, but I mean, it's funny if you sit in their press box there and you have your little console to put your things on in their broadcast booth. If you put your pencil on it, it'll roll back to you.
Roll back towards the field.
And then your feet kind of slant forward. So it's, I guess because, I don't know, maybe there's a water drain. Because like I said, it's open air.
Yeah.
But
Just on the visitor side, though, Scott.
well, yeah, you're right. I mean, the home booth is right next to us. It's very nice. But the visiting radio booth is just like, who cares?
Give 'em a
And then
tail
there's
on the mic.
people on the other side of that glass. And the last time we were there, they were beating on the glass during our broadcast. It's like, these are the high dollar donors that sit on that side. It's like a club area.
Wow, really?
When they would do
Classless
something good,
bumblebees they
like,
are over there.
dude, y'all got to quit doing that, man.
Did you
I was
pound
trying to
back at
ignore him
him?
the whole time. Josh was at that time it was Zaire. Zaire, our color guy, was sitting right next to him on the other side of the glass. And I'm on the right side of the booth down on the other end. But every time I looked at him, I would see those people on the other side of the glass.
Practice.
Yeah.
It was like a penalty box in a hockey game.
Exactly. Yeah, it was kind of like a hockey game. Thankfully Georgia won the game, so we shut them up. But I mean, it was quite distracting. But I guess that was the point. And
Sure.
we didn't have
Sure.
that at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Well,
So
you weren't distracted. You were
that's not-
focused. You were able to make the call and do your job. What was that? Must have been a couple years ago, you're saying, right? So
yeah. Last time we were
Well,
there.
back at Sanford next year, and then that's when we can break the record and make it 9 straight next year. So that will be add a little extra oomph to the game, to that rivalry at a home game next year as we close out the regular season. And we did close out that regular season with that winning record by far. And boy, I think about how we came this close to being undefeated against Alabama because we were really just a touchdown away or a few yards away from being undefeated. And so let's shift gears a little bit before we talk about the SEC championship. We do have some injuries. And to talk about that, of course, is our very own personal injury attorney, Gary Martin Hayes. Gary, you've been helping Georgia families for over 30 years, gosh, close to 40 years here in Georgia. And so tell us how you can help Georgia families in the event that they are injured in an accident, not on the football field.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, God forbid anybody's involved in a wreck, but if they are, it is not smart to try and take on the insurance company and their lawyers by yourself. I've been doing this for 36 years. Started out defending insurance companies on the other side, switched in the mid-90s to just help injured victims, and we help them put their life back together.
Well, we will include links to GaryMartinHayes.com. His phone number, 1-800-WIN-WIN-1. Recommend you put that phone number in your phone and save it in the event something happens and you're just one button away and Gary will take care of you. All right, let's talk some injuries. Now, we do have some on our side, and I'm sure Alabama as well, too, and some key ones for the Georgia Bulldogs. What you got, Gary?
Yeah, and key ones for Bama, but would like to talk about an injury that healed itself post-surgery, and that was C.J. Allen. He tore his meniscus, had surgery, and he played in the Georgia Tech game and played extremely well 11 days after having surgery. I don't think any of us can do that.
Bionic man.
I don't think so. That was amazing.
Great.
And he had, 2 tackles? And so he was a force to be reckoned with on defense for Georgia. Drew Bobo, your center, Georgia's center, he left the game with an ankle foot injury in the first half, and we don't know the severity yet. Again, they're going to announce on Wednesday the injury report since this is an SEC game. Running back Chauncey Bowens, he did not play, but Kirby said he could have played if needed, so good chance he'll be back for the Bama game. Defensive back Kyron Jones did not play because of a foot injury, and wide receiver Taylor, collarbone, he was out. Now for Alabama, they had a huge injury in the second half when starting running back Jam Miller went out with a lower leg injury, and we still don't know the severity of that. He was supposed to have an MRI on Monday, but nobody's released the results yet. Tight end Josh Cuevas, who is was a starting tight end, amazing receiver, amazing blocker. He suffered a foot injury, and he is out more than likely for the SEC championship game. And backup running back Kevin Riley, he's still out with a jaw injury. So Bama's got some injuries on their own.
All right, so here we go with the rematch, and a lot to be said about this SEC championship. Before we talk about the matchup, let's talk a little bit about how disappointed some Georgia fans are over this, and we've talked about this at length the last few episodes. But let me ask you this, Scott. This is something I'm bewildered about. I know that statistically it would make sense to if we didn't play in the SEC championship, we'd have more time for these guys to heal, like you just brought up, Gary. But someone said something about Kirby Smart opting not to pass up the opportunity to play. Is that an option? Do teams have an option? I didn't think they did. I mean, you're in or you're in. You don't get to say, "Oh, we're not going to play."
Yeah, we're going to pass.
Right? I mean,
Yeah,
so
I don't
I'm
think that's
seeing
how
that
it
float
works.
around. So let's just put that myth to rest. It's not up to Georgia to pass on it. I mean, we got to go, and we're going to go. But is that right?
No,
you
we
can't
had-
choose to pass on. Oh, we won't play.
At the end of the regular season, there were 4 teams that had a 7-1 conference record. It was Georgia, Alabama, Texas A&M, and Ole Miss. So by the rules of the Southeastern Conference, all the tiebreakers, as they go through those, teams get weeded out when you lose a tiebreaker. And the two teams left at the top of the heap after the tiebreakers were Georgia and Alabama. So, there's no opting in or opting out, and you can't pass it off to, we don't really want to play in that. Ole Miss, you take it, okay? Because you haven't been here before. So that's our gift to you. We want to rest this week. Yeah, so it doesn't work like that.
Well, I love it. The tiebreaker is done in alphabetical order. So that's why Alabama and Georgia got in.
That would be the easiest, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it?
That really
Yeah.
would, right?
Yeah.
And I know as a fan, I'm not the one down there playing, and I know, but I'm glad we're going. I'm glad, and I'm glad it's against Alabama. At first, I know I'm a little nervous about what could happen. We lose, and that changes our position in the playoffs, I suppose. But Kirby, I loved what he said when he was asked about it. About, gosh, if we're playing in the SEC championship, we're risking injury. And again, I'm not going to quote him accurately. I wish I had a soundbite for him, and I don't. But it was like, if you're afraid of injuries, you're a scared football team. We should be more afraid of getting hurt in practice because we practice hard, than this game. And so I'm really kind of tired of the talk that I'm seeing and hearing in my social circles and what I see online as well about people saying, oh, we shouldn't be in this game. Yes, we should. I'm thrilled for the opportunity as a fan to have a rematch with Alabama. We came that close to tying or beating them earlier in the year. That one sticks in my craw because I was there. I paid a lot of money for those seats to watch us lose. So looking for a little revenge. But what are y'all's takes as fans? And Scott, you're more than a fan. You're right there in the midst of it. What's your take on the SEC championship before we dive into the game itself?
Well, these championship games in the conference have lost a little bit of the luster with the current situation of college football with a 12-team playoff and, more teams to come in the future. So the conference championship used to be the ultimate goal for every team, regardless of which conference they played in. I mean, you wanted to win your conference championship. That was a big deal. And, some teams still do, and I think Georgia is one of those. Now, a lot of people see this as I don't want to say a meaningless game, but it's a game that it's not as necessary. You can still get into the playoffs and play through that tournament and win a national championship without having played or won your conference championship. So I think that's the way a lot of people are looking at it. Oh, it's just an extra game, and going back to what you just said about Kirby. It's an extra game that we could get hurt in. And so there are those feelings that are going on, but you can't really play the sport like that. I mean, you still want to win your conference championship, and then you move on to whatever the next stage of the season is. So that's the situation for Georgia and Alabama at this point. Whether it's good or bad, I mean, they have an extra game to play because they're in the conference championship, but that's also a good thing. It means those are the two best teams in the conference right now, and one of them's going to win the crown.
Yeah, and Georgia gets a chance to defend the championship they won last year, and I don't think Georgia has anything to lose other than potentially risking injury. Georgia's still in the playoffs. Bama, on the other hand, they've got some incentive to win. If they lose, and this is the bad part about the SEC championship game, they potentially are going to be out. And I hope they don't punish, any team that makes it their championship game, at least with the record that Bama has over all these other teams. So it's going to be interesting.
So do you find that to be a problem in how it's structured for the college football playoff system? Is there a way to fix that? What's your opinion on that, Scott, in terms of, like Gary, you made a good point. Neither of these teams should be penalized and not make the playoffs, and they make it to their conference championship. That does seem like a big problem.
Well, I think that's been a concern of all the schools, and when they formed this selection committee that they have, that was expressed through a lot of athletics directors and school presidents and all of that. And, supposedly that's the deal. Now, you won't be punished for playing in and perhaps losing your conference championship game. Now, I don't know what that looks like. I mean, what is the punishment? That happened to Georgia a couple of years
Yeah,
ago
sure
when it
did.
was still a 14 playoff.
Right.
Right.
I mean, they had an undefeated regular season, went 12-0, lost a 3-point game to Alabama in the SEC championship, and got bumped out of the 4-team playoff. So we ended up playing Florida State in the Orange Bowl that year. And Florida State had a similar situation. They had lost their quarterback. They had a great regular season, but they lost their quarterback due to an injury, and the committee penalized them for that, saying they weren't the same team without that player at quarterback, so they didn't get in. And then, a large portion of their team jumped into the portal before we played them in the Orange Bowl, and they were just kind of a shadow of themselves. And Georgia just routed the snot out of them in the Orange Bowl game. So that's what happened to two teams that, they kind of got penalized by the system. Move up a few years, and we've expanded the playoffs, threefold. It goes from 4 to 12 teams, and it's going to go to more at some point here soon. And we still hear, oh, you won't be penalized, but I don't know what that looks like, because you're dealing with a human committee that they still see that loss. They still know that loss if you didn't come out on top in your championship game. It's like, well, do they not move at all in their rankings because they lost? I don't know if you can do that.
In a championship game,
Yeah. I don't know what that looks like when you hear that. They won't be penalized. It's like, you won't be bumped out of the playoff picture, or what? What's the not penalized part of that?
Yeah. Well, the committee ranked Notre Dame ahead of Bama because they said Bama didn't have a running game. Well, when Bama heard that, they scored 7 touchdowns against Eastern Illinois, running the ball, to see if that would affect the committee's perspective. But it didn't. I mean, Notre Dame can be 3-8 and still get in. I can't stand
It seems that way.
Yeah. There's an anti-SEC bias, I think, against the SEC right now, which is not fair, but it is what it is. And I think the lesson is keep your starting quarterbacks healthy, or else they'll penalize you, as you said, from years ago, like they did Florida State.
Well, that's the question too now about Ole Miss. It's like, well, how does the committee handle the fact that they lost their head coach?
Yeah.
So that team looks different now when your head coach is gone and a lot of the staff is gone.
entirely.
How does that team look? So does that carry back to the Florida State situation when they lost their quarterback? Is it the same thing, or has that changed?
And then Lane hiring Kirby to go coach defense at LSU.
Oh, look at you stirring the pot. Not happening. And let's talk a little bit about that. Boy, what a shakeup with coaches this week. What are your thoughts on Lane leaving? I know that is a polarizing topic as well, too.
I don't really know what to think of it. I'm not close to that situation. I'm just like everybody else. I just kind of follow the news. That whole situation turned into a circus. When people, I mean, I'd never seen this before. The Ole Miss people turned out at the airport to boo him getting on the plane.
Yeah, I know.
When he's leaving Oxford.
Yeah.
And then on the other end, it was like, he was a war hero returning home, from battle. I mean, that whole situation has just turned into complete wackiness. I mean, Auburn had the same thing when they hired their new coach. They've got like a parade for the guy. I mean, I just find that strange.
But the legacy he had at Ole Miss that he was building, he has his reasons. He always wanted to coach at LSU, right? So, but you think, gosh, man, if you just stayed, I mean, they'd name the stadium after you, like they did with Coach Dooley, and all the other things that goes along with that. How much money do you need? And it's really none of our business. I mean, he had his reasons to do that. And there's people on both sides. Like you said, they went from loving this guy to booing him at the airport because they loved him so much, and he abandoned them. And then he's now a hero.
They had their feelings hurt. All those Ole Miss people were in their feelings.
They just weren't booing Lane at the airport. They were booing all the coaches, the assistant coaches that got on the plane with him. Everybody.
It's wacky. It's turned into a lot. A lot of that is because of these things. I mean, people are getting content and people love those videos. I mean, um, 3 decades ago, or 2 decades ago, even we wouldn't have seen really that situation publicly. I mean, it wouldn't have been in our laps, immediately after it happened, and people looking at all the videos and hearing all the different points of view from everyone on a coaching change. I mean, what if we did that in our jobs? What if, when you found a better
People don't
opportunity,
care enough about us, Scott. That's
when
probably why.
a better opportunity, you got in your car to go to your new job, and there were people outside your house booing you. Boo! You stink! You worked at this radio station. Now you're going to another radio station. Boo!
I
And
have
then when
some.
you get to the other radio station, they're putting on a parade for you as you walk into the building.
Until you
I
get
mean,
bad ratings and they want to boot you out the door right away.
you know,
That's his
and then
business.
you pick up your paycheck for $198 a week. So
Well, here's a Christmas suggestion for all the Ole Miss fans. You can get Lane Kiffin's face on a urinal puck. Just go to ppface.com.
are those
Look at
BOGO
Gary.
yet?
He's trying to get the PP Face to be co-sponsors of this
That's
show.
right.
And listen, we're not opposed. Let's bring them on. So that's great.
I think someone might be an investor.
Perhaps. Back to Lane, I got to tell you, in social media, I really did enjoy that clip where he went up to that reporter and said, "You want to call me, and we'll go back here and see how it comes out." That was pretty cool.
Do you like that?
I did. I like that he's like, "Hold on." He walks back to the guy and then takes off. I rather enjoyed that. I thought that was
Who
kind
came out on top? I think the guy that called him. That
Probably so.
prostitute. Yeah.
That's the word he used, right? All right. Well, a big mix-up, a circus, like you said, but we've got something really exciting to look forward to. We can put all that stuff behind us about should we be playing in the SEC championship, and oh my gosh, all the worry wart. Sounds like Larry Munson, right? I remember how negative Munson was all those years ago. I mean, as beloved as he was and is, man, he was just so negative all the time. And I imagine he might have been, I don't know, worried about this, as a lot of fans are. But so what? Let's go play. Let's have a great game. Let's play Alabama of all the teams. Let's I know Gary, you grew up an Alabama fan, but this is going to be fun this weekend. I think. Hopefully no one gets hurt and it doesn't hurt their playoff opportunities. But let's talk about the game this week. What do you see, Scott, in the matchup between these two Titans?
Probably more of the same, as we saw in the regular season. I mean, it's we played in September in the regular season, so it's been a couple of months, and the teams have changed a little bit. I think Georgia's playing better football now than they were then. Defensively, they've really gotten better. They've come together to play much better as a unit. Depending on the bodies that you have available, I mean, this game could look different if Georgia has to make a change at center. That affects the game. We saw that a little bit in the second half against Georgia Tech. So we'll see how that works out this week. I would expect Rock'em Sock'em again, like we see in this matchup, like we've seen, I don't know, in most of the last pairings. I mean, it's a one-score game, it seems, every time. There was the one SEC championship that Alabama won, what was it, by 17, I think, a few years ago. In large part, most of these matchups are tight ball games, and I would expect to see that again. Both teams have equal caliber talent, and the coaching is good on both sides. And once that game starts on Saturday, I don't think either fan base is going to wish they weren't there in the stadium watching it. Like, oh, we shouldn't be here. Go team. It'll be, everybody will be into it. There'll be 75,000 in downtown Atlanta that'll be going nuts for their team and hoping to win an SEC championship.
Can't wait. I can't wait. Gary, what about the other side? I mean, I know you're a dog fan, but you're also in your blood. You probably bleed crimson, right? Well, most of us do anyway, don't we?
Yeah, well, it's 1A for Bama, 1B for Georgia. especially with Scott calling games. So big
Sure.
Georgia fan since I've been here. But yeah, I think Bama, they've got to get off to a fast start. They've got to make Georgia throw the ball because Bama has had some issues stopping the run. And if Gunner starts running, Bama can be in trouble because we've historically had issues with these dual threat quarterbacks. And Ty needs to get rid of the ball. He's been sacked way too much as of late. Georgia's got to keep Bama from getting off to that early start. I mean, Georgia's had trouble getting going, though Nate Frazier, he had 100 yards in the first half, and Georgia did much of the scoring in the first half, but couldn't do much in the second half, as you said, Scott, when Drew Bobo went out. So don't know how much the run's going to be there. If Drew's going to come back, then maybe they've got an advantage there. If not, who knows what Malachi Tolliver, the guy that stepped in at center, can do. So it's going to be interesting. It really is. And rock'em sock'em, let's play it. And these games are always such great games. Absolutely. I mean, nobody's had a blowout as of late.
No, they're always edge of your seat. And Gary, I have a question for you. What's the over/under on number of passes to Proctor, your left tackle?
He's moving to wide receiver for this game, so it's just like 5. Our wide receivers, we've had some injuries there, and we don't know which wide receiver is going to show up for Bama. We've had guys that have been injured. Ryan Williams has not been the recipient of passes as of late. So does he come back like he did in the game last year against Georgia? I don't know.
Yeah, he's had some issues with drops this season, hasn't he?
He has.
But, you go back to our game and in the regular season, and that happened to Georgia too. So there was a drop pass there that cost the Bulldogs a touchdown. And so we'll see what happens in this one. It's going to be fun to get ready for it.
Vegas has Georgia as a 1.5 point favorite.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. See, I mean, this is what we want. I mean, we want a battle. These two teams, the storied history, and listen, I mean, y'all are our kryptonite. Truly, it seems. And hopefully we can overcome it and win an SEC championship. It's going to be an amazing game. I can't wait for it on Saturday. And like you said, Scott, you put it perfectly. I know there are a lot of naysayers that wish we weren't there, but no one's going to be in the stands or in front of their TV going, I wish we weren't here.
And making me watch this game again.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. I cannot wait for it. So it's championship week, but before we say goodbye, Scott, your background's a little bit different today, and we're talking a lot about Georgia football, but there's some exciting stuff happening on the hardwood as well. So where are you right now? Let's talk a little Georgia basketball.
Well, I picked the hotel setting on the special effects option on the screen here on the Riverside platform. What do you think?
Very nice.
This chair right here. This chair, it's like gator skin. I'm in Tallahassee, so it probably is gator skin.
That checks out.
But it's a little bit of an older hotel. I sat down in this chair, and the cushion kind of sank down, and then there's like a nail on the bottom. So I had to put a pillow in the chair.
The luxurious life of a Hall of Famer. See, folks, this is what goes on behind the scenes.
Poking me in the bottom when I sit on it. It's like, wow, that did not feel good at all.
Well, if you get injured, you can always contact this guy over here, Gary Martin Hayes. So, I mean, I'd sit down a little harder if you would, Scott.
I don't want to have to show that injury in court, though.
And no pictures to me either, Scott.
I don't think the insurance company would want to see those either. But yeah, we're in Tallahassee this week. Well, tonight we're doing this on a Tuesday. But Georgia plays Florida State in the SEC ACC Challenge. Georgia basketball is doing very well so far, off to a 7-1 start, and hopefully after tonight we'll be 8-1, and then they get a little bit of a break for final exams, and Georgia will play again a week from Saturday in Atlanta at State Farm Arena against Cincinnati in the holiday hoops giving event, and that's a 2-game deal with Georgia and Cincinnati, and then I think Auburn's playing somebody in the other game. So it's a doubleheader. a week from Saturday. I don't even know the dates in my head right now, but that's why I'm in Tallahassee, and that's why I'm in a hotel. I didn't get kicked out of my house.
Well, that's good to know. And
Good.
and boy, the break not only for final exams, but for you as well too, juggling football and basketball. You are all over the place. So I know you're very busy. So we appreciate you making time for us today. Great that the Georgia basketball team is doing so well. When are we home again, Scott, so we can make our plans to head out there and cheer on the Dogs?
The next home game will be December 18th against Western Carolina in Stegman Coliseum. So, like I said, a little bit of a break. You always have this academic break here for final exams on campus, and after the game here in Tallahassee against Florida State, that's what we'll experience a little bit, and before we play again, and then we're back home in a couple of weeks, I guess.
Fantastic. All right. Well, good job juggling both. I know it's a challenging time.
I didn't do too well with that, did I? Like, what are the dates? Who are we playing? It's like, I don't.
You just tell me where to be, and give me a microphone, and I'll tell you
That's
what's
kind of
happening.
what it's become. It's like, just point me in the right direction, and we'll show up.
All right, so everything's looking good for the Georgia basketball team and the football team as well. Championship week. Gary Martin Hayes, our sponsor, 1-800-WIN-WIN-1. We'll have links to Gary Martin Hayes in the episode notes. And if I were you, I'd put his phone number in your phone as well, too. In the event something happens, you don't have to search for it. 1-800-WIN-WIN-1. Thank you so much, Gary. Go Dogs, Gary. To
Go Dogs.
our
Roll
Alabama
Tide. Have a
dog
great
fan.
game.
And Scott, let's get it. I can't wait to hear what you do with the microphone on Saturday with those great plays, and maybe history will be made, and we'll be replaying some of those calls again years down the road in this battle between these two SEC Titans, the Dogs and the Tide. So thanks for joining us, everybody, and go Dogs.
So long, everybody.